The Oklahoma City Thunder might be your preseason Western or even title pick, and you could still be underrating them. They are that good. OKC got the first seed last year, led by MVP candidate Shai Gilegous-Alexander, and in this young core's first playoff run, they made the second round before barely losing to the Western champions. Well, in the offseason, they added Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein, two of the best role players in the league, while their young trio of Shai, Chet, Holmgren, and Jalen Williams probably got even better. This is one of the deepest teams in the league and has looked amazing in the preseason. They could actually be historically good this season, and even 60 or potentially 7 wins could be a possibility. But who even is on this OKC roster for the team to be that good? Shai Gilegous-Alexander will of course be the team's leader and an MVP candidate, as one of the best scorers in the league that can drive anywhere in the paint, and looks like he has worked on his three-pointer in the preseason, shooting 7 for 11 so far and has some of the best defensive stats among guards. With a combination of storyline stats and how good the Thunder will be, Shai is my preseason MVP prediction. Chet Holmgren is a 7-1 unicorn who just averaged 16.5, 8, and 2.3 blocks while shooting 37% from 3. He didn't miss a game and is just 22 years old. Chet will be unstoppable next season. Jalen Williams is one of the best scorers in the league. He averaged 19 points last year, including being unstoppable down the stretch of countless games, and shot 54% from the field and 42.7% from 3. J-Dub is also just 23 years old and will be going into his third season, which could cause yet another jump, even though he was already a most improved candidate last year. Williams also did get an ankle sprain during the preseason, but he most likely won't miss too much time. Caruso is arguably the biggest Thunder offseason addition. He made an all-defensive team the last 2 years while averaging a career-high 10.1 points per game last season and shot over 40% from deep. Isaiah Hartenstein is the other big move. He took a huge jump with the Knicks last year as he became the starting center, being an increased defender and one of the best screen setters. His passing as a big will add a different dimension to this Thunder offense. Though he also got injured in the preseason, he should miss about the first month of the year. Lu Dort will most likely slot into the last starting spot. One of the best and most physical wing defenders who's a streaky three-point shooter, but did shoot 39% in both the regular season and playoffs last year. The depth on this team is also very impressive, with the bench being filled with players like Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, Cason Wallace, Jalen Williams, Dillon Jones, and AJ Mitchell. But what does nearly the whole team have? Shooting. OKC is filled with guys that can knock down multiple threes, and it will be deadly. Last season, the Thunder made 13.3s a game, which ranked 8th, but more impressively, they did that at a 38.9% rate, first in the league, even above the Celtics. The unselfishness of this team definitely helped that, as they shot 27 catch-and-shoot threes a game, which was 7th most, and was one of just 2 teams to shoot 40% on those shots, while they took the 4th least pull-up threes a game, less than 7. They returned their top 6 shooters by threes made, and their top 9 by three-point percentage among players with 100 or more attempts. The biggest shooting liability on the squad, Josh Giddey, who made just 3 of his 16 three-point attempts against the Mavericks in the second round, was traded for a guy who shot 40.8% from 3 on nearly 5 attempts a game and made a career-high 136 threes last season, Caruso. Even rookie AJ Mitchell, who might crack the rotation, took a shooting jump last year, making 39.3% of his threes for UC Santa Barbara. The Thunder's defensive personnel is also one of the best in the league, and really one of the best we've seen in recent memory. A group of Caruso, Lu Dort, Cason Wallace, Chet Holmgren, Shai Gilegous-Alexander, and Isaiah Hartenstein. That is absurd. OKC replaced their worst defender in Josh Giddey with Caruso, notoriously a pest on defense, dating back to his Laker days, who ranked first in deflections per game last season and has finished top 5 the last 3 years and second in total deflections. He also ranks 7th in contested threes and loose balls recovered. Players shot just 45.2% from the field and 36% from 3 when guarded by Caruso. He joins a massive defender in Dort, sitting at 6'3", 215. He's built more like a linebacker than basketball players, and we see it all the time, using his physicality to fend off opposing players. Chet's height is really enough for him to be already a competent defender. Mix in how fast he is for a player of his size, and you get someone that could be a future Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Chet finished 5th in blocks per game, but 2nd in total blocks with 190, more than guys like DPOY Rudy Gobert and prominent shot blockers Anthony Davis and Brook Lopez. Despite playing in the most spaced out era in NBA history, Chet ranked 16th among blocks by rookie ever, and just second this century, of course only behind Wemby. Last year, Shai ranked 14th, J-Dub 31st, and Chet 37th in DEPM, a stat that measures the estimated impact on defense per 100 possessions. Over the offseason, they added the 2nd and 5th ranked players in that stat. This team genuinely does not have a liability in the rotation defensively, with Isaiah Joe being the worst defender there, and when comparing errors, this Thunder team could be historically good defensively. OKC being so young also helps this team tremendously. They will have playoff experience from last year, but they got out in transition and it was a huge part of their offense and just overall identity. They ranked 5th in pace and 3rd among playoff teams, and they had the 2nd most transition possessions, scoring a league-leading 26.5 points from that a game, 9 more than the Trailblazers. But even defensively, they limited transition points, letting up just 17.4 transition possessions, which ranked 4th least and 18.4 points per game, best in the league. Team shot just 51.2% and scored on only 48.2% of the possessions, having a plus 8.1 points from transition scoring. That was a big factor in this team's offense being so good and just team being so good, ranking 3rd in points per game with 120.1, tied for 25th among any teams all time and most in franchise history. This team is so fast-paced that they can create possessions, but like previously mentioned, this team is insanely young. The oldest player on the roster is 30 years old. Their top 3 players are 26, 23, and 22, and just 2 players on the roster are older than 27. Last year, this team was unexpectedly one of the best in the league. They snuck into the play-in with just 40 wins during the 2023 season, but didn't make the playoffs. 1 year later, OKC won 57 games and got the first seed over the reigning champion Nuggets and Timberwolves. They went from 24 wins to 57 within just 2 seasons. Shai went from a nice young player that could become an all-star to an MVP candidate and top 5 player, and they got Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren through the draft. This team looked nothing like it did just 2 years ago, and it shows how much of a genius Sam Presti is. Now this year, there are increased expectations of the Thunder. After the play-in appearance, we just hope they can make the playoffs, but the rapid growth over the last 2 years and offseason additions can put the Thunder into historically great tiers. ESPN lists OKC at plus 675 to win the championship, 1st in the West and 2nd in league. DraftKings also has OKC with the 2nd best odds in the league, but slots OKC at plus 310 to win the conference, with the Nuggets and Mavericks at a distant plus 475. The Timberwolves blew up their core this offseason, and though they may still be able to compete with the Thunder, it doesn't seem like they will be on that level. Kawhi Leonard is out for the start of the season, and Paul George left the Clippers. Multiple West contenders are completely falling apart, and even while the Nuggets and Mavericks restructured their supporting cast, the Thunder improved their roster way more, and their young pieces most likely improved even more. They have one of the rarest combinations of age, playoff experience, and in-game maturity we have ever seen from a basketball team. And with MVP Shai leading the way, the entire West has to be concerned, and the Thunder may just break records this season.